Welcome to round 4 of the Parenting Roundabout podcast for the week of September 12th. I'm Catherine Haleko, and I'm here with Nicole Eridix.
Hello.
And Terry Morrow.
Hello.
As moms of teens and young adults, we've survived those little kid days, yet we're still rethinking the decisions we've made all through our kids' lives and worrying about what's going on right now. Today's Thursday, which means it's time to give into our obsessing, and today we are obsessing about gentle parenting. Now, according to a Parents Magazine article, what this is a means of parenting without shame, blame, or punishment, a partnership between parents and children, a collaborative style. So
this is where I say, thank goodness my kids are raised already, so I don't have to deal with this nonsense.
I mean, it sounds good in theory, but
the no blame, shame, or punishment sounds good. And, I don't know. I don't want to sound like nasty old lady with a belt in her hand, but kids do need some guidance. It's not just all a conversation. At some point, the kid has to do something, right?
Right.
At some point, there's a power balance, and the power is on the side of the parent. And
like
you don't have to be like,
do this now, or I'm going to spank you. Yeah.
Yes, but you can. But you also can't be. Let's sit for 45 minutes and discuss whether you want to put your shoes on or not. Let's see. Are these? What are your feelings about shoes and? Socks. Do you have opinions on socks? It's just like at some point, you could do 45 minutes at bedtime about, thread count on the sheets, but at some point, just go the bleep to sleep, as that
as the book says.
That name. Somebody's got to be in charge at some point.
Well, and we've talked before about natural consequences and how, again, I would love for natural consequences to always be at play, but I mean, the kid doesn't really care about cavities in the future versus brushing their teeth right now. Yeah. So what are you supposed to do with that?
And kids, forget kids, young adults.
Yes.
Don't care. Honey, if you take better care of your body now, when you're my age, you'll be much happier. And she's like, this candy is delicious. Go away. So, I don't know. I experimented with different behavioral things when my kids were little. Because my son in particular, I did what is the thing, Howard Glasser's thing, Nicole, that I'm always forgetting, even though I swore by it. The nurtured heart approach.
Yes.
And I know some more disciplinarian types would find that ridiculous, and you're looking for your kid to do something good so you can praise them, and you take a more analytical approach to why things aren't being done, and you understand how their particular abilities play into those things. And that worked very well with my son, and my daughter was pretty easy, but neither of them was very strong on language. So a parenting approach that involved prolonged negotiations of a verbal nature would not have been effective.
Right.
They are not effective now. Again, young adults, I can have a long discussion about, what do you feel about this? Why do you think you're doing this? What do you think is the deal? How should we do things differently? And my daughter is like, there's something I want to watch on Lifetime. I'm going. Right. So, nobody in my house wants prolonged negotiations. So I think gentle parenting would have been temperamentally wrong for me and of no interest to anybody else.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely something that is a factor, right? I mean, not just the child's temperament, but the parent's temperament.
Yes.
I mean, not to say that if your temperament is confrontational, you should yell at your kids all the time. But, if something like gentle parenting is going to lead to just constant frustration for the parent, is that good for the child?
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know.
People, I'm sure you think that you will feel very good about yourself if you do this, because you're raising another human, an equal, a partnership. It's not a partnership.
What are they saying on TikTok about this, Nicole?
Well, there's obviously people who are for it and people who are like, what the heck?
I raise my hand for the latter.
So I'm like, I have to be honest and tell you that I'm kind of leaning on the like pro side of it, just because of with teaching and whatnot, you kind of, it's just a different relationship with you have with kids, and you do see positive results because of it when you are developing relationships with kids and being positive and supportive. You do see that it can make a positive.
But at some point, you just need to
influence.
send that kid to the principal, no?
No.
You can have long conversations with the kid who keeps interrupting you and asking while he's... I mean, at some point, somebody has to be in charge.
Well, no, because no. I mean, it's more than that. But no, my principals would just send them back. We had to deal with it.
Yeah.
But it's just...
I see a lot of class time being wasted.
It's about...
Go ahead.
It's about developing relationships and just kind of... I think, like... To me, it's more, what do we call it? Attachment style parenting, where you are guiding the child and just having conversations with them about what it actually means. And no, that doesn't mean that every little thing is going to be a gargantuan conversation, but it's more than just like, because I said so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that I don't agree with. I mean, that is...
But there are some things... There are some things that's because I said so, like don't run into the street and don't touch the oven.
Well, no, I mean, because you don't run into the street because a car can't stop fast enough and will hit you. If you could just finish that sentence, that makes sense to a kid.
You hope it makes sense to them, or else they're going to be a grease spot in the road.
Yeah, but I mean, it's just completing that, explaining why, like.
But can that be like a debrief afterwards, as opposed to a lengthy discussion while the child is in trouble?
I think too the key here, and they're not mentioning it, is the prep, the proactiveness of it, because no, you don't have time to sit there and have lengthy conversations when you're in the moment of an emergency or something that's happening that you've got to deal with immediately. However, you do have time to say, if they're to kind of prep the child, like you've got to kind of think ahead about, okay, what could this look like? For example, if you're walking out of Target if you've parked your car and then you've got two kids and one is in a car seat and the other one's a toddler, right? And you're parking your car and you're like, okay, how am I going to get both of these kids out at the same time so it's safe? What am I going to do? You could just sit there for like 2 minutes or a minute and say, okay, this is what's going to happen. And this is what you're going to do while I get your brother out of the car. And like, it's the proactiveness of it, I think, that's the missing piece here when people explain it. Gentle parenting. It's like, okay, let's think this through. What's this going to look like?
Yeah.
I think that's good. And I think there are some kids for who that would be very effective. But there are kids for whom it is not, right? Well, as with every approach. If you have an impulsive kid, they're not going to sit there and listen to what you say. They're just going to hop out of the car.
For sure, but why wouldn't you know that about your child and lock the door so they can't get out of the car? Like, I don't know. It's a different approach. It's not reactive. It's more setting this child up for success, right? And
different kids, different parents, different approaches. Isn't that our motto?
Sure is. That's my kind of take on things. I don't know. Because you know what? I've had the complete opposite experience in my developmental years growing up.
Yeah.
And there's nothing that creates more animosity and pushback and anger and resentment from your child than you just giving a direction and expecting them to follow it without any discussion whatsoever. Like, honestly, I think you push them away in many cases, as opposed to them being, okay, mommy. Okay,
I probably actually had very similar parenting to this gentle parenting. I was pretty much did what I wanted to do. I was very verbal, and I was very talking it over, and I think that there wasn't a lot of ordering me to do things. And so I've grown into a monster. Clearly.
Okay.
There
Good to note.
There were
Your
times in my young adulthood when my mother was probably rethinking that whole approach. But yeah, I mean, and for me, it was a good approach. But I think for my kids, it would not have been. I think they needed pretty clear and no nonsense guidance. You know, they could object if they wanted to, but they needed lots of language would not have been helpful.
You're going to give it to them in a way that's most suitable for them. You're not going to go into, a dissertation of
I think nurtured heart approach advised give commands as though you were giving them to a dog with no emotion. Just do it. And that worked really well.
Oh my God. That sounds very nurturing.
Like instead of put those shoes on, it's like put your shoes on. Not angry. Keep the anger
or it's
out
just
of it.
like
just a
shoes.
specific command.
Just like a one word.
Exactly.
Totally, but okay, you can't tell me that you didn't have a conversation, many conversations prior to that about how to put on your shoes quickly and why we're putting them on, blah, 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 blah. You know what I mean?
My kids weren't big on conversations.
Okay.
They were pretty behind. This is why we kept the language simple. Yes.
This is what we do.
Well, actually, honestly, with my kids, I mostly put their shoes on for them. So, although one time, how old was my son was in second grade. And when I went to pick him up from school, I saw that he had 2 different shoes on. And the teacher said, "Oh, isn't that nice? He dressed himself. He put down on different shoes, but good for him." And I said, "Oh, yeah, isn't that great?" Ha, 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 ha.
And then you're like,
I put those on.
That was me.
I said to myself as I walked out. But, I just, okay. If it works for you and your family, that's great. If it's making you a nervous wreck because you can never tell your child anything without it being a whole conversation, then maybe not good so good. I'm old lady Morrow. Get off my
I think it's more about the type of conversation you have, the purpose of the conversation. Not so much the time. But because you can say something really meaningful and appropriate to your child in 30 seconds or less. It's just, I don't know.
Assuming your child is not going to argue back, point to counterpoint, and then you're there for 3 hours.
Well, I mean,
which is probably what I did when I was a kid.
It's all about just, yeah.
Well, yeah.
Interesting conversation.
Parenting. There are so many opinions on parenting.
So many ways.
So many ways to do it.
As Catherine said, the temperament of the parent and the temperament of the child are important factors in this.
Yes, they are.
Even
but don't be quick to jump to this is the way it's going to work for them. Find out what would work for them.
Yes.
Right.
There are, 2,000 books at Barnes & Noble to tell you how you should do it. So,
exactly.
Pick one, try it, throw it in the garbage, pick another. Or just listen to us and we'll make fun of them all. And then you can just do whatever you want.
Perfect.
For equal opportunity.
I will make fun of them all. Nicole will give impassioned defenses.
She will give reasonable...
as an informed opinions as an educator. And I will it sounds stupid. We all have the things we swear by. Or swear at. But we're not talking about that today. That's it for today's Round 4. Tune in tomorrow when we'll share our roundabout roundup of things we've been using or enjoying lately that we think deserve a shout-out. Find all our episodes at parentingroundabout.com and talk back in the comments there on our Facebook page or on Twitter, where you'll find us at Roundabout Chat.